Appetizers are good any time of the year, but we got football going on right now, so these recipes will be perfect. They're crowd pleasers and they're easy to make, which is always a good thing. Hey y'all, I'm Valerie and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I'm sharing 5 game day appetizer recipes that I think everyone is gonna love. I know they're gonna love them. Okay y'all, let's get started. I had seen this cheese toast on TikTok. It looked super easy, so I had to try it. So to make them, you're gonna need a sheet pan. I'm using a 10-ounce loaf of sourdough bread, but you can use regular French bread if you prefer. And I sliced that loaf into about 3/4 inch pieces. I sprayed them with some cooking oil, and then I put those in the oven to bake at 400 degrees for just a few minutes. I only wanted to toast them up a little bit before I added the cheese to the top. Now we're going to go ahead and get started with that. In a medium-sized bowl, I added 3/4 cup of mayonnaise, 1/4 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese, and about 3/4 cup of mozzarella. I also added a couple teaspoons of minced garlic, or you can do garlic powder, and I added some parsley. Now you're going to give it a really good mix. And feel free to get creative with this and add anything you like or change up the cheese. Just do what you think your family will love. Okay, that toast is out of the oven. I got it a little crispy, which was good. Now you're just going to take some of that cheese mixture and spread it evenly on top of each of those toasts. You want to spread a good amount on them. You want to get them covered good, but you don't want it falling off the sides. Now they're going back in the oven to bake at 400 degrees for about 10 minutes. Or just however long it takes for them to be melted and bubbly. And a tiny bit golden brown on top. These turned out so good we could not stay out of them. And I almost didn't even make them because they were just so simple and it was just cheese toast. But I am so glad I tried them. And like I said, there's really so many different ways you can change these up. But we were happy with them just like this. And these are a good football food or even a holiday appetizer. Oh, and they're kid approved. If you're in the mood for something with a little kick to it, try these Buffalo Ranch meatballs. To your crock pot, you're going to add a 2-pound bag of frozen meatballs. I used the home style. I'm not sure how the Italian would work. Now you're going to sprinkle over 1 packet of ranch seasoning. Then you're going to pour over 2 cups of buffalo wing sauce. The Sweet Baby Ray's brand is really good. Now cover it and set it to cook on low for 2 hours. And I guess I was in a hurry here and I just set it to cook on low and hit start, but I only let them go for 2 hours. These were really good, especially if you like buffalo sauce. And I just kept it simple and served it with some celery and homemade ranch. Y'all, the homemade ranch is always better, so if you haven't tried it homemade, you've got to. These really did come together quick and they were full of flavor. And if you don't want them as spicy, add a little broth to the crock pot to reduce the heat. These chicken Cordon Bleu sliders are a new favorite. I'm just using my sheet pan to toast the bread. You'll need a 12-count package of the Hawaiian rolls. You're going to cut those in half horizontally, and then you're going to take that top piece and flip it upside down and lay it beside that bottom piece. That way the insides of the bread gets toasted, and I just baked them at 350 until they were golden brown. Now I could have put them together on this, but I decided to grab a smaller sheet pan to assemble them on. I used my little jelly roll pan. I did put some parchment paper on, and I laid down the bottom half of those rolls. I covered them with a thin layer of mayonnaise. You're going to spread that mayonnaise out, and then you're going to add on about a tablespoon or 2 of Dijon mustard. Here I'm just adding on a layer of chicken. I used 2 cups of rotisserie chicken. You can sprinkle over some salt and pepper, but I used the Kinder's The Blend. Now we're going to cover that chicken with some sliced Swiss cheese. Feel free to add however much you like, but I used 5 slices. Now you're going to add on about a pound of deli ham. The recipe said to pat it dry with a paper towel, but I did not do that. Now we're going in with a layer of sliced provolone cheese. Then you're going to grab the top of those rolls and place it back on top. Now we're going to make up a little butter sauce to put on top. In a small bowl, I have 4 tablespoons of melted butter, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3 teaspoons of minced garlic. You're going to mix that and brush it evenly on top of those rolls. Now these are going into the oven to bake at 350 for 15 to 20 minutes. You really just want to make sure everything is completely heated through. And I probably should have put a piece of foil over the top because they started to get a little brown, but they were still delicious. So if you want to play it safe, put a piece of foil over the top after about 10 minutes. These were so good. They are definitely something that we'll be making again. Of course, they're a great appetizer, but they're also good for lunch or even an easy dinner. And the leftovers are really good too. I have never made smashed potatoes until now. To begin, you're going to need a large pot of boiling water. Into that water, I added 1 tablespoon of salt, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder. Now you're going to add in 1.5 pounds of baby gold potatoes. And we're going to boil these for about 15 minutes until they're fork tender. Then remove them from the heat and drain them and dry them very well. I added those potatoes to a large bowl along with 1.5 tablespoons of oil, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon each of onion powder and garlic powder. Or you can feel free to season them any way you like. And you're just going to toss them around to make sure everything is completely coated in those seasonings. Now you'll need a sheet pan, and mine is lined with a silicone liner. And then we're just going to dump those potatoes right on top. Now I'm telling you, this was my first time, so I'm still learning. I just used a large measuring cup, or you can use the bottom of a glass to smash that potato flat. And as you can see here, it was sticking to my measuring cup. I should have sprayed that cup with some nonstick spray. So the second potato I grabbed was a little on the bigger side, so I decided to cut the bigger ones in half. Because keep in mind, we are smushing these as flat as we can get them. And they're an appetizer, so you don't really want them huge. And after I struggled with that second one, I don't know why in the world I didn't think to start with, but I was having to smush that one together and try to keep it into one piece. And then it hit me. Oh, I can use a piece of parchment paper. So don't do like me. Just go ahead and get you out a piece of parchment paper. That parchment paper worked so much better. I just cut a little piece, a little square, or I actually tore a little square, laid it on top of the potato, and then used the measuring cup to squish it flat. And the flatter you get them, the crispier they'll be. And I'm showing you here, I filled up 2 sheet pans with those 1.5 pounds of potatoes. I baked them both at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. Then you're going to remove those from the oven. You're going to flip them all over and then put them back in the oven and let them bake for an additional 15 to 20 minutes until they're crispy. Oh, and if you want them crispy on the outside but still soft and fluffy on the inside, don't squish them quite as flat. Okay, here they are out of the oven. They've both baked for 20 minutes on each side, so 40 minutes altogether. I melted 2 tablespoons of butter and added about 2 teaspoons of grated Parmesan cheese to it. I mixed it up and spreaded it evenly on top of each of those potatoes. Then you're going to top each potato with some finely chopped, cooked, and crumbled bacon. I used about 2/3 cup worth. Then top them with shredded cheddar cheese. I used 3/4 cup altogether. Now you're just going to put them back in the oven and let them continue to bake until that cheese is completely melted. I do want to mention, when you're baking them, before you add the toppings, don't be scared if those edges start to get brown. I actually preferred those better. Those were the ones that were a little crispier. Oh, and I made a little sour cream dip to dip these in. It was really good. It was 1 cup of sour cream, 1/3 cup of mayonnaise, and then I just seasoned it with salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, and parsley. This pimento cheese sausage dip was so good. To a large skillet, you're going to add 1 pound of sausage. I'm using hot, but regular will be just fine too. You're just going to break it up and let it cook until that sausage is completely cooked through. Then here, I'm just using a paper towel to get rid of as much of that grease as I can. I did turn my heat down just a little bit, and then I added 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, 1 can of undrained Rotel, and 8 ounces of your favorite pimento cheese. I wish I would have cubed my cream cheese up so it would have melted a little quicker, but I didn't. You're just going to let it cook over about medium heat until everything is completely melted. Now it is ready to dig in. This is definitely a good one if you need to make something fast. I topped it with some green onions just to make it look pretty, and then I served it with some Frito scoops. But you can really serve this with any chip you like. And I'm telling you, this dip is addictive. It is so good. And I do love pimento cheese and sausage, so that combination was amazing. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more easy recipes, and I will see you in the next one.